All right, y'all, we back with another reaction. This one right here is called Teen Executed His Family Over Sleepover with Girlfriend. Now, my mind get to racing on what that could possibly mean. How many people was in his family? Why did he do it? Did they not want her there? Did they want her there? Did they do something to her? What happened? What would make you want to kill your whole family over your girlfriend? Let's react and let's find out.
Childs the third to those weapons. No fingerprints, no DNA.
He shot his brother once in the back of the head as he was watching television.
Jeez.
Next to Elijah in bed was Elijah's girlfriend, Kiara Hawkins. The defendant shot her once through her right ear.
A teenager killed nearly his entire family, all because he left home without permission. An Indiana jury has just convicted now 21-year-old Raymond Childs III of murdering 6 people, including a pregnant woman who was nearly due to give birth amid what prosecutors allege was an argument that turned deadly.
God dang. Jeez. All that because he stayed out past his curfew?
I'm going to sit down with criminal defense attorney Bob Bianchi to get to the bottom of this case and look ahead to the sentencing.
Dang.
Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A jury deliberated for just about 3 hours before convicting 21-year-old Indiana man Raymond Childs III of 6 counts of murder in the brutal slaying of his own family members.
Murder.
And his conviction came months after a judge declared a mistrial the first time around after a witness in his first trial verbally confronted him in front of the jury. So the 21-year-old, he was arrested a day after this horrific crime back in January of 2021, where he fatally shot his father, Raymond Childs Jr., his stepmother, Kazi, the couple's daughter, Rita, son, Elijah, and Elijah's 19-year-old girlfriend, Kiara Hawkins, who was pregnant. She was just about to give birth.
Killed
now,
the
there
baby.
was one lone survivor of this absolutely heinous attack, and that was Childs' 15-year-old brother, who in court documents is referenced only by the initials XC.
Did he
He
shoot
was
him?
shot, but he was able to flee the house and escape the gunfire. Now, according to the probable cause affidavit obtained by Law&Crime, XC told police what happened when he was rushed to the hospital. When XC was asked who shot him, he stated, Raymond Ronald Lee Childs III. And it actually gets more heartbreaking from there, because when he's asked about his parents, this is what he says. When medical staff spoke with XC about locating his parents so that they could provide further medical care, XC stated, he shot them. I think they're dead. And XC was just 15 years old. But he's not only just a lone survivor of this attack, but he is a key witness who provided firsthand information to police and prosecutors about the brutality that had occurred. We'll get back to that in a second, but I have to address what's the lingering question here. I'm sure all of you have. Why? What could have possibly led Childs to literally execute almost his entire family? Apparently, it was due to a spat over whether he could stay the night at his girlfriend's home.
Oh my God.
Childs actually left his family's home without permission to stay at his girlfriend's house. And
oh, come on, bro. Over a bitch. And these are kids, so I ain't gonna disrespect the young. Over a girl. Come on, bro. You just threw your whole life away. You ain't even experienced life yet. Over a girl, bro, because you couldn't stay the night at your girlfriend's house. You killed your whole family. Except for your little brother. He got away.
According to the probable cause affidavit, it reads, JD, this is Child's girlfriend, stated that on January 23rd, 2021, Childs III came over to her house to spend the night. While he was there, he got a phone call from his dad telling him to come home. JD stated that sometime between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning on January 24th, Childs III drove back over to the house in a white Chrysler. Childs III stated that his father had kicked him out. But we know that version of events is not true, because Childs had actually gone home to kill his family before coming back to his girlfriend's house. To be clear, she didn't know about this when he came back, but a surprising phone alert would soon raise some suspicions for her. Why? It says, the probable cause affidavit, about...
Bro, this nigga Pop said, hey man, come back home. I'm getting you an Uber. Nigga, get your ass an Uber. He gets in the Uber. He goes home. He's so mad he had to leave his girlfriend's house that he killed everybody in the house. And one person got away, his little brother got away, but he was going to kill his little brother. He was going to kill his brother. Well, he killed his other brother. He was going to kill everybody. Everybody was gone. Mama, dad, girlfriend, whoever in the house getting killed. Only to then take the car, one of the cars, and go back over there and act like nothing happened. That's a dark motherfucker, bro. All that over a girl? That's just sickening, man. Come on, y'all.
30 minutes after Childs III arrived back at JD's home, JD received an alert on her Citizens app that there had been a shooting on 36th Street. Soon after, there was another alert regarding a shooting on Adams Street, and this is where the family lived. JD asked Childs III if he knew anything about the shooting, and he said no. Now, if this isn't enough evidence so far that something terribly wrong had occurred, there's yet another suspicious situation that arises, this time when JD drives Childs to a different residence in her Chevy Impala following the sleepover. Listen to this part of the affidavit about the evidence that Childs actually left behind, wrapped in a bundle of clothes. Quote, when they left, Childs III placed the clothes by his feet in JD's car. When they got to where Childs III wanted to go, he took the clothes with him. Shortly after JD pulled off, she hit the brakes and saw a magazine clip, meaning a firearm magazine clip, fly forward on the passenger's floorboard of her Impala.
He dropped the...
Detectives, they obtained a search warrant on the girlfriend's vehicle. They did indeed recover this magazine clip that you can see right there. And detectives then tracked down Childs, arrested him after taking him to their homicide office. Now,
oh, my God.
I mentioned earlier that Childs' younger brother, 15-year-old XC, would prove to be a very vital witness. But a few days after this incident, detectives talked with him more at the hospital, and he told them the exact timeline of the shooting as he saw it from inside that home. Quote, XC told them that before the shooting, his father had asked him to put some water in a bottle, so he went to the bathroom to fill it. At that point, he heard 2 gunshots. His father got out of bed, ran to the stairs, and said, "What was that?" He then heard his sister RC say, "Raymond shot Elijah." Another gunshot went off, and he heard his dad say, "I'm sorry, Raymond, I love you." Now, XC was still inside the bathroom, makes his escape at this point, but Childs chases him outside. He even offered his older brother money to not kill him, promised he wouldn't say anything, but Childs shoots him in the leg, shoots him again in the arm. And XC was somehow able to make it into a neighbor's home until police arrived, and he was rushed to the hospital. He made a miraculous recovery despite being quite serious critical condition. And as for the firearm in this case, there were actually 2 that were used. Police were able to recover one in the basement of the family's home, and the other they were able to retrieve after they received a call from a person who actually picked up Childs after the murder. He apparently told police when Childs III got into the truck, he was armed with a Draco firearm that AV recognized as belonging to Raymond Childs Jr. AV told Childs III to give him the gun because AV had a permit to carry the firearm, and Childs III complied. This witness, known as AV, then handed that weapon over to police. And you can see it pictured there.
Damn.
Police were able to match some of the spent shell casings found at the scene to the weapon, and the other casings were matched to the 9mm handgun that was found in the basement. So with all...
This nigga took a Draco that he probably, has, all these little young niggas out there in the South and shit be having Dracos for their ops. And instead of using it on his ops, which he's, the nigga shouldn't be committing crime, man. He shouldn't be using it on nobody, man. Don't do crime, y'all. He takes it and uses it on the people that love him. His dad was just being a father, man. Hey, man, come on. Come home, bro. I'm getting you an Uber. Come on, you tripping. Whatever the case is, whatever he's trying to prevent, that's some father shit. I'm going to get you the Uber. It wasn't like, hey, bring your ass home. Figure it out yourself. Walk here, whatever. I'm going to get you the Uber. So obviously, you know what I mean? He cares for you enough to make sure that you get home. And then before you shoot him, he tells you, "I love you, son." Like, I love you. That's dark, man. That's dark. Just being a father, man, got him executed. That's sick.
All that in mind, now we have a guilty verdict. I want to bring in a special guest to break all of this down. Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, friend of the show, Bob Bianchi. Bob, thank you so much for coming on. It's really, really good to see you. What are just your initial impressions and thoughts on a case like this?
Hey, Jesse, thanks for having me on. Love the show, love the format, and of course, always love working with you. I think that when you get to be my age and you've been doing homicide work as a trial lawyer, both as an assistant prosecutor when I first started my career, now advancing some decades later and having done it on the defense side, the thing when I was reading this that struck me was the senselessness with the murder cases that we see today. And this one is probably about as senseless a murder case than I've ever either handled or reviewed. And what I mean by that is when I was in the homicide squad when I first started out, we would kind of like case compare and we would say, oh, this case is really crazy or this one's got some, something interesting element to it. I know that sounds kind of macabre, but this is what you do when you're handling murder after murder after murder. But the thing was back then, what strikes me now is that there was always something where the motive made sense. You may not agree with it, but whether it was money or drugs or gang violence or infidelity, you could put your arms around the reason why the person did the thing that they did, despite how horrific. I handled one where they poured gasoline on a pregnant woman and lit her on fire. So the murder itself was horrible, but you understood the underpinnings of it. Today, when you see something like this, it just seems to me that there's a massive desensitization of individuals. There's no bar in terms of the conduct, and to me, it's almost like an automaticity. It's like I'm angry and I'm going to lash out in as big a way as I can. Now, I think it's actually reflective of a social decay, a breakdown in
came
the
home
mores,
and went back
if you will,
and knocked her down in the morning. If this was over against some pussy or something, you killed your whole family, bro. You could have went back and knocked her down in the morning.
Homicide prosecutor and defense lawyer to look at the calmness of this conduct. One of the things we look at as a homicide prosecutor, because we're worried about mental health defenses coming in, like passion provocation or something that minimizes it for murder and lowers it, maybe an insanity defense, is we look at goal-oriented behavior. And that's what psychologists will look at. What was occurring just before, obviously during, and after, to see whether or not the person was acting with purpose, with intention. And you see that throughout all this. There's purpose and there's intention, but the gravity and the response to the stimuli, if you will, that is his father telling Ken sleep with his girlfriend, created the unfathomable. So that was my initial impression. Sorry for the long thing, but you read something like this, and my big thing was, as a defense lawyer, I got to get this guy over to a psychologist as quickly as possible to see if I can establish a psychiatric defense.
What struck me is these appeals to his emotion. His father saying, Raymond, I love you. His younger brother saying, please don't shoot me, don't kill me. I won't say anything. And he just continued through. It's such a chilling thing to think about anybody doing this to another human being, but doing this to your own family members.
Terrible, terrible, terrible.
That's what really, is so chilling and sticks with me.
Terrible.
I did want you to put on your prosecutor's hat for a second, because we talked about some of the evidence. What did you think were some of the strongest pieces of evidence that the prosecution had on him?
Oh, well, I guess I can answer that by looking at it as a defense lawyer. Like, as a prosecutor, what I say to myself is, and it's kind of like backwards, like, what is the defense going to do? All right, how is the defense going to try to make an argument here? And so I'm evaluating it from both perspectives. When I was looking at this case, I was thinking to myself, where is the defense going to go with this case? And as a prosecutor, I think that there's very little that I would be concerned with, because I think when you ask what is the most significant piece of evidence, I don't think there's a particular piece of evidence, but I think it gets to something that you just talked about. The chilling nature of the reaction to such a low stimuli is something that I think is the most powerful concept for the prosecutor in the case. So it's very difficult I've had cases where the person was completely mentally incapacitated, had no idea what it was that they were doing. They've got a long history of psychiatric issues. They decompensate off their medications and basically could not form an intent to kill. Here, the intent to kill is so clear. His flight afterwards is so clear.
Come on, man. What the fuck is going on?
Family members begging
killed your family.
The money,
it's
not
crazy.
To kill him. The statements made by the father, the girlfriend in the evidence. The case was very, very solid. It's one of those where the defense attorney
and the girlfriend snitched on you. Let's talk about that, man. She gave him everything, told him everything. That's the part we ain't even touch on yet. Where's the girl at? This shit, you killed your whole family over this girl, nigga. And that probably turned her off, nigga. Like, ain't no girl attracted to a nigga going to kill his whole family. So you did all that for nothing. For nothing.
I think looks at it and says, listen, this is the one I brought to the dance. I got to do my best to see if the government can prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. But I don't think the defense was under any illusion other than this was going to be a conviction and a life sentence for this this individual.
So the defense was, my understanding, faulty investigation. There was a misidentification, and that, well, if you have two guns, there were two shooters. There was something more nefarious. And I guess also the defense, I don't know this for sure, but I wonder if they also played up the fact, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really believe a teenager, because he was a teenager at the time, would have gunned down his entire family in this fashion? Or does it make sense that this was, you know, two different people that did it? So the faulty investigation, misidentification, two shooters. The jury didn't buy it, though.
They tried it.
Yeah, they didn't buy it. They came back with a verdict in 3 hours. So, I mean, they didn't buy it quickly. But listen, I mean, this is an argument that a defense attorney can make. I'm a big fan of defense lawyers making arguments about an investigation that was not complete. I think that this is a big problem in our country. I see it all the time. And as a former prosecutor, in fact, I'm dealing with it right now, some of the failure to properly investigate and not dot I's and cross T's. Jesse, listen.
I mean, this shit is pretty much like, to argue this one, this is really like damn near, I hate to say it, kind of like an open and shut case, cause like you got a victim, which is your little brother that's still alive. You went to execute your whole family. Your little brother was in the house. It's his dad, like it's your dad. It's his mom, like it's your mom. It's his brother, like it's he. And then you shot him on top of that. And then you tucked the shit over to your girlfriend's house and left the clip in the car, and she gave it to the police, let her search the car. Like, it's kind of like, it's open and shut. So to say, oh, somebody, it wasn't him, it was false identity, it was somebody that looked like him, it was two people that killed this many people. Like, bro, you literally went in there and executed your whole family. It sounds like you don't even have a reason to shoot everybody. Like, if anything, I get it, your dad made you mad. I would say, like, now that's just devil's advocate. I'm saying I'm not cool with that, but I'm saying if anything, if you're gonna go get mad at somebody, I can see it being your dad because he's the one that told you to come home. But that doesn't make it right. So don't get that like I'm saying that's right that he did, like that he shot him. But what I'm saying is, for you to go and now shoot additional people on top of that, to shoot the girlfriend, to shoot the girl, a pregnant girlfriend at that. Your brother's girlfriend was pregnant. That just showed how sick mentally you are that you would shoot all these additional people and a pregnant woman, even your little brother, all because you're mad at your dad for telling you to come home from a bitch house. That is really some dark shit.
I've been at the scene. I've been there when the call comes in fresh from 911 that there's been a homicide. And I have watched people literally jump to conclusions in a heartbeat before they've gotten all of the evidence. And it's when you have this confirmation bias that starts to set in and they start getting sloppy with the investigation that things get missed. And there are many times, Jesse, that when I was in the power and I had the authority as the head prosecutor to reverse things, stop things, or do it, I would tell people to slow down. There were cases that we had where people jumped to the conclusion it was a medical event and a suicide, but yet it turned out to be a murder. And there have been times where they thought that there are many people that had no idea how close they came to having handcuffs put on them because investigators jumped to conclusions that later turned out not to be accurate. So I know that this is a big global question, but for me, a defense lawyer attacking a prosecution's sloppy investigation,
Sure.
Not only do you do it in that case, but it benefits everyone across the country.
Let me ask you this point about, there was a challenge for the prosecution here because this was the second trial. The first one ended in a mistrial because a prosecution witness confronted Childs on the stand. In fact, one jury member even said they can't remain impartial after what had happened, so a judge had to declare a mistrial. That's nothing that a prosecutor never wants to hear that. And it feels like there's a lot of pressure for the second time around, no?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you never, as a prosecutor, want to try the same case twice. It's like that proverb that they say, a person who steps in the river never steps in the same river and is never the same person. It's true. As time goes by and as more transcripts get created And it's more times witnesses are exposing themselves to cross-examination, or just the sheer nature of having to re-subpoena a case and redo a case always inures to the detriment of the prosecutor. So I was always a fan of saying, you know, I think that you may know this from coverage that we've done together on certain trials, is that I lament these
Damn.
prosecutors who are sloppy. That's not what we're talking about here. But in any event, cause a reversal of the case and it has to be retried again because it never gets better for the prosecution on the second round. So when you have a witness that does something that occurred here, which caused a mistrial, or I've seen in my cases juror misconduct, and you got to try it again, you take a big sigh. I mean, you go into the game, but you don't like it. You're scarred when that happens.
Let me ask y'all a question,
I want to
man.
ask you about sentencing.
Let me ask y'all a question. What do y'all think? Do y'all think the brother, listen, hear me out. This nigga was 17, the brother right here. He was 17 when he killed his whole family, except for the little brother. But he shot his little brother twice. Little brother got away. For those of you who just tuning in, he killed everybody else in the house. He killed his little brother. He tried to kill him, shot him in the arm and leg. He got away, went to the neighbor's house. He survived. This is what he was 17. He's 21 now, doing trial right here or some shit like that. But should the brother, because the brother was only 15 when this happened, the little brother, should the brother ever forgive his older brother for shooting him and on top of that, killing his mom, dad, and his other brother? And should the brother ever forgive the brother that shot him and killed his family? If you was a little brother, would you ever forgive him for that?
So he wasn't just convicted of murder, which I believe under that state law, each count can carry 40 to 65 years in prison. But he was also convicted of attempted murder, so that's, I believe, 20 to 40 years in prison, and then a misdemeanor charge for carrying a gun without a license. Will this 21-year-old ever step out of prison again?
Well, Jesse, that's a big question too. A very good one. I don't think so. But I am watching more and more as time goes by and disagree with the idea that we have, based on quote unquote science, indicated that people under the age of 26's brains are not formed properly, and therefore we should give them a break on sentencing. And these arguments have been successful in many places. But I think the gravity of this particular offense and the number of victims screams out for an individual that serves at least the longest aspect that state allows with respect to parole and eligibility. But you can be assured at some point in time, lawyers are going to be arguing that his youth, his inability to form mature thoughts or whatever, should warrant a less sentence than if this was somebody who were an adult that committed the same kind of conduct. But I think that the nature of this offense and the amount of victims is going to cause the judge to give the maximum sentence possible, and parole is likely, is likely to give him as much as they can. And look, a lot of this also depends with parole on how the family responds to this down the road. I'm going to presume, based on what I've read, that the family, especially the pregnant woman. I mean, this is about as bad as you get, right? That family is very active here, and they're gonna squawk, and a lot of times the squeaky wheel gets the grease when it comes to parole here. So I think that inures to the detriment of the defendant's early release.
I was struggling with what the defense could say
Damn.
at sentencing, whether even the defendant makes a statement, what his attorneys would say, whether they call any, family members, or friends, or I don't know who, to provide some sort of recommendation to the judge about what sentencing should be, because I also wonder whether or not the judge would just sentence this man to consecutive sentences, one after the other for each one of the victims, as opposed to concurrent, all them together. So again, just trying to preview what we might expect there.
Right. A lot of big questions there. Now, obviously, as a defense lawyer, you want to try to bring out that although it may not be a self-defense, a legal self-defense, but that there's a mental health issue, Judge, it's apparent by the facts themselves.
What?
If you cannot understand the gravity of what he did, it's because of a mental health issue. And again, it might not rise to the level of a defense, but it can mitigate the sentence that the judge is going to give in the case.
Bro, that's a mass murder, bro. Jesus Christ. Nigga killed his own. This is really crazy. I'm just thinking, like, if I'm a little brother, like, I survived that. My older brother, you know how fucked up in the head. Like, it's different if this would have happened when the little brother was like 3 years old, 2. Like, he wouldn't really remember. But to be at 15 and witness that, your whole family get killed by your own brother, and your brother is alive in jail, and you out here, like, I would probably, me personally, if it was me, I would probably be like, nigga, I'm finna go do something to go to jail when I'm mentally capable of going to jail for that reason. I might be, nigga, on that time, depending on how fucked up I am, I'm going in that jail and I'm going to get you. That would be my whole motive for living, cuz, to avenge my family's death. There's no way I could watch somebody kill my father, my mother, my brother, and try to kill me, and I'm just taking it day by day for the rest of my life without thinking about him or trying to see him or try to go hunt him down or, oh, no.
As far as consecutive sentencing or concurrent sentencing, there's always a contradiction in the law. One side says there are no such thing as free crimes, and each victim warrants a consecutive sentence. And yet, there are other areas of the law that says a single episodic event close in time where multiple crimes are committed may warrant a concurrent sentence. Based on my training and experience, the cases that I've seen, and the gravity of this case, I really find it next to impossible to believe the judge will give anything other than a consecutive sentence in this case.
By the way, Bob, you are also a certified EMT, right?
That's correct.
So what was this other aspect about the story that I think is just incredibly harrowing is when you talk about the surviving brother, in this case, XC, that he was shot in both his leg and his arm, yet he's able to get up, go to the neighbor's home, manages to stay alive long enough to make it to a hospital, becomes a key witness in this case. Talk to me about how is that even possible?
You know, Jesse, it's a mystery. I've come on the scene of catastrophic shootings and things of that in my capacity as an emergency medical technician, where there are injuries to an individual that defy how this person is alive. And you marvel at it. And yet I've seen some situations in which a minor thing causes somebody to die. You know, when we go out on the rig, we say this all the time, and the call comes in, you never really know until you get there what you're going to be looking at. And I look at it from the standpoint of the EMTs that had to respond to an event like this, because you have to understand there had to be a massive law enforcement response and a massive EMS response. And when that happens in a mass casualty incident like this, you're going to all these different people and doing the best to triage them. And if there's individuals that you think can be saved, sometimes you have to make really catastrophic decisions that will stick with you for your life, because you may leave somebody behind that's still alive, but you don't think that they're going to be saved by the time they get to the hospital, and choose the person who's most likely to be saved. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's a situation we hate to be in. But in this particular case, from a legal point of view, we marvel at it, and prosecutors are thankful that that witness is there, because that witness is a key person to the case. And as an EMT, we look at it and say, wow, another guy who suffered a shooting and actually survived. And there's a lot more than you think. In the 30 years I've been doing EMS work, more people than you can imagine get involved in shootings and are saved now than there were a couple decades ago.
Damn.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing. I mean, honestly, it is just heartbreaking to think about what this, then 15-year-old
terrible
had to go through, experience losing his whole family.
That shit terrible.
Having to survive that attack. His brother is the one who did it, and then have to testify about it, and then have to explain what happened. Look, it's a miracle he survived, but our hearts go out to him. And our hearts go out to the family members who lost these.
And he had to go testify.
Case. And
look at his brother in the court. Oh, I know.
Scheduled to be sentenced
nigga.
on January 7th, so we'll see which way the judge goes. But Bob Bianchi, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Jesse. My pleasure.
All right, everybody. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar.
That's crazy.
Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, man. That's crazy. All right, that one right there is teen executed his family over sleepover with girlfriend. Let me get out a like. This is on the Law&Crime Network. Y'all make sure y'all go check out their channel, man. Their channel's fire. They be having all kind of stuff. If you into like the crime thriller and crime cases and all that, crazy stuff. But we definitely gonna react to some more stuff we did. Wait. Let me say that for later. We definitely gonna react. Shit, I ain't what I wanted to say. My bad, y'all. I'm over here. I'm trying to do 2 things at one time. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comment section about this. The brother, would you forgive him? Would you ever forgive the brother? You check out the whole family in front of you. He shot you twice. He was trying to take you out. You survived. Would you ever forgive your brother? What would you want to happen to your brother? Would you want your brother to rot in jail? Would you find compassion and forgiveness for your brother? How would that work? Let me know in the comment section, man. Smash the like button, you know what I mean? And get ready for more reactions. We got another one on the way.